So there's been some recent news that Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles, is going to be missing some content that the PSP War of the Lions release had. This, along with the fact that the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters didn't have content that some of the earlier releases had, made me want to kind of sit down and talk about Square Enix and how they're just kind of like avoiding releasing definitive editions of their games lately. If you enjoy JRPG videos, top 10 videos, reviews, podcasts, and guides, please remember to like, subscribe, turn notifications to all. Now let's begin. So as I mentioned, Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles, which is the remaster of Final Fantasy Tactics that's coming out September 30th, I believe, is not going to have the additional job classes as well as the additional characters that were in the PSP release of the game. This added cutscenes, this added a new script, and by the sounds of things, they'll be keeping the script of the War of the Lions release, but not including any of the job classes and new characters like Balthier, and of course they had like a Dark Knight. So is this a good thing or a bad thing? They're also adding difficulty settings, so you're going to be able to change the difficulty at any given time from either easy, standard, or tactical, I believe they're calling it. And it sounds like the tactical doesn't just nerf your abilities, but actually reduces some of the abilities you're able to use, like some of the calculator abilities, which is kind of a weird way to increase the difficulty. There's also going to be a fast forward feature, and the easy mode is going to prevent the enemies from matching your level, which will be nice, honestly, because I'm not a huge tactical RPG guy. I love Final Fantasy Tactics. I loved Tactics Ogre Reborn. I loved Vandal Hearts. But for the most part, unless it's like a 10 out of 10 tactical RPG, it's not going to be a game that I can get through. I'm just not patient enough to get through like the sometimes 20-minute battles in a tactical RPG. In a turn-based JRPG, you'll end up in like a battle and it'll take like maybe like 2 to 3 minutes to get through. In a tactical RPG, that could be a 20-minute dedication. You could do an entire session of playing that game, and the entire session is just one battle. So that is a big reason why I'm not a big tactical RPG guy. Also, I'm not the most strategic dude in the world, all right? I played Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings and did what everyone in my chat called the Braveheart technique, where I literally just load up all my troops and go straight at the enemy. Was great, worked for the majority of the game, but the final boss fight was an absolute nightmare because of it, and I had to get so overleveled. I had to get all my characters to max level in order to beat that game. So yeah, I want people to be able to experience the excellent storytelling and characters that Final Fantasy Tactics has, so to offer an easy mode is a really smart choice. Same with the fast forward mode, that's going to speed up the battles. I want my friends who also aren't big tactical RPG guys to be able to experience this incredible game in all its glory, so I'm grateful for that. But when it comes to, say, the Final Fantasy V Pixel Remaster, removing job classes that were added in the Game Boy Advance release, same with the Final Fantasy 1 and 2, back on the Game Boy Advance, they had post-game dungeons, which were really cool. But that is not here in the Pixel Remasters. I can kind of see both sides of the fence here. I love the extra content, but at the same time, I'm one of those guys that loves to experience an artist's original intended work the way it was originally intended. Right down to the fact that if I'm ordering like a hamburger at a restaurant and that burger normally comes with something on it that I don't like, I will not have that burger with that item removed, because to me, that is not how that burger was designed. Weird, I know, but that's just how I am. So when I found out the Pixel Remasters had the sprites redesigned by the original sprite designer, and that the story and characters weren't going to be altered like the Final Fantasy III DS remake, for example, I was kind of hyped for that. I do understand the want for extra content. In fact, I also wouldn't mind having extra content, but I don't like when they change the story. I don't like when they change too much of the original game. I want to experience the game, like I said, how the original artists had intended it to be. So I thoroughly enjoyed Final Fantasy III Pixel Remaster, as opposed to the fact that I had no interest in ever playing the DS remake. I hated the Famicom version of the game. I played it a little bit, I got as far as I could, but I just got frustrated with it. So to be able to experience it as a Pixel Remaster with like the difficulty balanced out, but still staying true to the original Famicom game, that was the way for me to enjoy it. That was the way I wanted to play that game, and I'm glad I got to do that. So with Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice collection offering the like remastered mode as well as the classic mode, I don't see why they couldn't have had all the War of the Lion stuff in the remastered mode, because they're actually doing it so that you can experience the game as it was originally intended, as well as the remastered mode. So why don't you basically have both games in the game, like you kind of advertised to begin with? I understand not wanting to change the original PlayStation game so that people can experience that, but if you're gonna have a remastered version and the regular version of the game, I just don't see the point in removing stuff from the War of the Lions version, especially if you're keeping that script. They have apparently added like lines of dialogue for certain characters to interact with each other on the battlefield, which is kind of cool. But again, there's just so much missing there that I wished was at least an option to experience. So yeah, I just wanted to give my 2 bits on that. And I also want to hear what you guys think. I understand the desire for extra content, especially in a remaster. I mean, look at the Lunar, even the PS1 Lunar remakes, they're like almost entirely different games to a degree, right? There's story elements changed, but there's change for the better in my opinion. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you want these remasters to be like 100% remasters of what the original game was, with like difficulty and speed up tweaks added to it? Or would you like extra content or a little bit of a mishmash of both? Let me know in the comments what you guys think of the Ivalice Chronicles doing this, or just any games in general, any remasters. Do you like to have that extra content? Would you prefer it to be just the original game with some quality of life features added? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to like, subscribe, turn notifications to all, and I will see you guys in the next one.